found out today that the company that manages the internet here for this complex is out here doing some updates. So I work remotely full time. And I wasn't able to finish out the rest of my day because they're doing this upgrade. So anyway, I took today as an opportunity to get something done. And what I mean by walking in your purpose and be assertive, we're not just here to do for us. We're also here to look out for others, right? Others who may not have a voice, right? Or others who are not willing or not able to do certain things for themselves. So anyway, so I applied to volunteer for one of the Goodwill locations here in Houston. And I was supposed to do some work like back in July. But my little cousin passed away, and I wasn't in the mind frame to do it. So I missed. They give you 30 days from the application, or when they approve you, they give you 30 days to actually take the opportunity to volunteer in one of their stores. And I think the minimum hours is like 4 hours, right? So I noticed that I missed that 30 days, so I reached out to the person who contacted me initially. So they said that I had to reapply. So when I was doing that, this particular time, I don't know why I didn't notice it before, but I noticed in their volunteer code or policies, one of the things, they list things that they don't want you to do. They have kind of a dress code, follow these certain guidelines, et cetera, while you're in their location or to be considered. So I noticed that it said no visible tattoos. So I was like, wait a minute, I didn't see that before. So this was like 2 weeks ago, week ago. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. So I reached out to the person who contacted me. And I told her that I noticed that it said, and I didn't know if it was for that specific store or if it was for all of their locations, that they didn't want people volunteering who have tattoos. So, I sent the email. I told her, I missed that. I must have missed that, and that I wouldn't be able to do it. So after I thought about it, I was like, I'm offended by that. Because as you can see, I have visible tattoos, piercings, and whatnot, right? But that does not define, my look, my ink, my piercings do not define who I am as a person. They don't speak to my accomplishments. Some people look at people and they draw their certain perceptions based off stereotypes and prejudices and preconceived notions, right? So I reached out to the Houston corporate office for Goodwill. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know if there was one main. So there is one main corporate office, which is on the East Coast. So I contacted both places, right? I was able to speak to someone at the Houston office. I let her know. This was like a week ago. I let her know, the situation. And I was nice about it, but I did say I feel like that's discrimination. I was like, I have been donating to Goodwill and even shopped in a few of the stores. So I'm also giving back to the organization in that way, right? So the lady was very nice. She said she would give the information to the appropriate person and have them contact me. Well, I realized today I hadn't heard from them, right? So I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to give them a call. I have some downtime. Let me follow up. So the same lady that I spoke, same receptionist I spoke to in Houston last week, was the same person that answered today. And she's like, oh, yeah, I remember you. She didn't necessarily remember the situation, but she remembered my name, right? So I said, well, I'm just following up because nobody contacted me. So she's like, okay, hold on. So she transferred me to a young lady in their HR. But of course, that's for employees. But the young lady was nice. She listened to me. Now, both of these young ladies I spoke to today, and one of them is the initial woman that actually emailed me a couple months ago and said that I was approved to volunteer, right? So both of them are young black women, and I'm so happy about that. You know, I'm all for supporting black women in business and whatever, you know, corporate, whatever. I'm just for supporting black women. So I was explaining the situation to the young lady in HR. And she said, well, you know, I'm in HR. So, you know, I handle the actual employees that work in the stores. I said, yes, I understand. I said, you know, I explained the situation to her. And, you know, I was like, I'm an entrepreneur. You know, and again, I said, you know, I donate. I've been donating for years. I shop in the store. So I said, I'm really confused by the fact that it would be mentioned that just because someone has visible tattoos, they are not able to volunteer in the store. So I said, you know, that means anybody who donates or wants to shop in the store, I mean, that would, you know, you take donations, you take money. So if somebody wants to volunteer their time, and I said, and if somebody is going to be professional, I said, I carry myself in a very professional manner. I said, so, you know, I was very offended by that. And again, I was nice to her about it, right? But I could tell, you know, at certain points in our conversation, she was getting a little agitated or whatnot. But we got beyond that, right? We got beyond that. And I asked her about the location or the main corporate office on the East Coast. She didn't have the number or whatever. She tried to look on Google. Now, I was on the phone. You know, they're fixing my Wi-Fi. I explained to her, like, I don't have access right now. I have this one phone that I'm using for this live that still has the Wi-Fi. My other phone doesn't have it. So I couldn't do it, couldn't get online. So she tried, and I said, okay, you know I put the number somewhere, I can't find it. Maybe I didn't write it down. Maybe I just called them by looking on the computer when I called last week, right? So she stayed with me on the line. I appreciate that. I wasn't just brushed off. Now, I had my mom on my other phone listening to this conversation because I was telling her about it. And I said, you know what, let me call right now while I'm thinking about it, while I have some time. Because, you know, instead of complaining, a lot of times we complain about things that we don't like. We complain about how we're mistreated by these certain companies, businesses, organizations, whatever, by an individual. So we got to start speaking up and taking action. So my action is helping somebody in the future. Now, the young lady in HR was like, this isn't my thing, but I said, well, you know what? I appreciate you helping me, and this will help you in the future if you get another inquiry about this. And she just laughed. So when she was taking my information, she was like, so now can I get your information? Because I said, well, at first she was going to get off the phone. I said, well, don't you want my number so you can give that information to whomever you need to give it to? She was like, oh, yes. And, I gave her my information. She asked for my email and whatnot. And then she was like, well, so was this a court order? And I said, girl, a court order? I said, I'm not knocking anybody who does have court orders and got into a little situation. I said, but no. I said, what I'm trying to do is partner with different organizations as a business. I am trying to see if this is a good fit. I said, I want to build a rapport first. And I told both these ladies this. I want to come in, build a rapport, and just see if this is an organization I want to align with, right? So, but yeah, I was like, a court order. But you know what? Young sis was being funny. She was being funny. She was throwing a little shade. I know she was, but it's okay. I got her all the way together. And I kept my cool. I did. I being a business owner has helped me to grow and think about what I'm going to do and say before I actually do and say them. As a business owner, you are, or you should be, more careful and just more strategic, more logical about certain moves and things that you do, because it's your brand. It's a reflection of who you are. And once you let somebody know, okay, this is my business, and I gave my business email because I reached out to them on a business, as a business person. I didn't give my personal email. So I want to establish this relationship as an entrepreneur. So I have to be careful, and it's great practice for me, right? You don't have to be aggressive. You can be assertive. Be assertive in how you approach things, in your approach, business or personal. People call me aggressive, but I am assertive. Now, I can be aggressive in certain instances, yes. But as a woman, as a stylist, I had to be very assertive and sometimes aggressive. Because if I needed to get something for a particular client, and I started as an assistant. So my thing was, I wanted to show who I was working for that I could get the job done. So yeah, a lot of times I was aggressive. And then living in New York, having certain jobs, I had to be assertive. I had to exercise assertiveness, as well as be professional and be a representative, a good representative, be of good judgment, character, integrity, all of that, because I was representing not just myself, but, another company, another person, another brand, right? So for me, these types of things and situations, I consider me walking in my purpose. I'm growing every day. I'm practicing patience. Yes, practicing patience. And always maintaining a sense of calm, because we don't have to be loud and rude and disrespectful, right? And I give respect until I see otherwise. But like I said, and then when you stay calm, a lot of times the outcome will be more positive. So I love the fact that these two young ladies took care of this today. The longer I stayed on the phone and I was calm and I was, respectful to her, but assertive and firm, I was firm. I was. You got to be firm. You got to be confident. You know, and if you are passionate about something, then that's what's going to come off. You know, but you can be passionate about something without being disrespectful and rude, right? And I know sometimes dealing with certain people is frustrating. Dealing with certain people and certain processes is frustrating because I feel like now, you know, it's a lot of great customer service is lacking. Business savvy is lacking. Professionalism is lacking. Knowledge and skill and talent in some companies and people that I deal with on a daily basis. That's lacking to me. So instead of complaining, I try to be who I want to see. I try to be that person that I want to deal with. You know, we lead by example. So this was their first time dealing with this situation because they didn't even know. Like, you know, the HR lady didn't really know. She didn't know much about the volunteer aspect and what was actually listed on the website. The other young lady who actually, the HR lady got the woman who handles the volunteers, the volunteer process, that contact person, she got me on the phone with her. So I appreciate that. Like their sense of urgency in handling the situation because I had already called before and they know that, you know, I didn't get a response. So I like that they didn't just brush me off and let another day, week, month go by. They handled it today. And the woman who handles the volunteers, you know, when we were on the call, she said, you know, I'm going to look into this. She said, I don't see. She said, if you can send me a screenshot. I said, well, what do you mean? I said, you mean you don't know what's on the website? And she said, well, you know, I haven't. She said, okay, I'm going to look on the website. Yes. Because yes, honey, I shouldn't have to do that. You work for that organization. You should know exactly where it is. You should know what I'm talking about. Right? Those are the expectations that I have. When you work for a company, you should know. And there's a lot of people who work for these companies who don't know. So, yes. So when I said that, she said, you know what? I'm going to look into it and I'll have that information. She was going to let her manager know and include me on that email. So that's what she did. And she said, you know, I hope that you know, if you can reapply and I hope that you will want to volunteer still. So I said, okay, yes, that's fine. I said, I just wanted to know, I wanted this to be explained to me, like how you guys came up with this. So they let me know that's no longer a policy as of a month ago. And that to reapply, and they would love to have me. So I appreciate that. So my thing was, what was important to me is because I didn't know if anyone spoke up about it. So these Goodwill stores in each state are franchises, and they can have their own code of ethics and policies. There are certain, like with the logo and certain guidelines they have to follow so that it's consistent across the board as a company. So you can it's branding, brand recognition, right? So, but I do appreciate that they got on it. These two young ladies got on top of it, and I look forward to working with them. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I wanted to just speak up about it because there's so many great people who have tattoos, piercings, whatever. Like, I don't judge people based on that, and unfortunately, It happens. It still happens. I get certain looks when I go out, and but I always want to speak up for the people. I want to speak up for the voiceless. I want to speak up for the people who may not even think about it. Some people just, they're like, oh, well, whatever, and they let it go, and that's that. But when I feel passionate about something, I don't let it go. I keep it going. And like I said, what I want to practice, what I don't like, if I don't like something, I want to take it a step further and reach out to someone and challenge whatever it is that offended me, that I have a question about. Because as a customer of Goodwill, or as someone who donates, I just want to know, because I want to see where that logic is. Because if it didn't go this way, then I would have no longer been a patron, someone who donated, because that's just wrong. I said, that's discrimination, and it is. That never should have been on there, right? I know that, certain tattoos kind of, there's a stereotype. They don't want a certain caliber of person, but there are wealthy people with tattoos. There are wealthy people who are criminals. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know everyone's background and what they've done. And just because someone doesn't have tattoos doesn't mean they're any better than somebody who does, So anyway, that's my thing. I just walk in your purpose, whatever that is. As long, I feel like walking in purpose is that it's your calling. And walking in your purpose is not only for yourself, it's to help others in some way. That's what it is. How can you help others in some way that's going to be rewarding? That's going to uplift somebody. That's going to empower somebody. That's going to change the world. It has to start with us. It has to start with us. It has to start with you. It has to start with me. What is that? What are you passionate about? What do you like doing? What don't you like? What has happened to you, that you've complained about, but you can make a change some way, somehow. And be assertive about it. You take the initiative. Don't wait on anybody else. And sometimes, it's tedious to make a phone call. It's tedious to look up that information. Well, let me find the phone number. Let me find an email. But sometimes we have to make those extra steps that others can't take, and be the change that we want to see in the world. And so here's another thing. There's a video that I just saw on my timeline earlier today, about it was a teacher abusing a 3-year-old. Now, I didn't know how old the boy was at the time of watching the video, but he abused this child, who then I found out was a nonverbal autistic 3-year-old. And it was at this school in Dayton, Ohio. Because on Instagram, the video was just posted, but it didn't have any background information, where it happened, when it happened, So I posted, where TF did this happen? And someone responded with the name of the school and the city, and that the child was nonverbal autistic and a 3-year-old. So I was like, okay. So I Googled the name of the school, and I went to their reviews, and the school didn't have any reviews. They didn't have any reviews. They did have reviews, but it was under 3 stars. And I always go to the lowest reviews to see who recently posted and what they had to say. So someone posted a couple of days ago that they saw in the news that this teacher had abused this child. And the video is very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. I mean, I love children, and we need to protect them. You know, we need to protect them. But I just wanted to know what happened. So I called the school. This lady answered, and I said, yes, hello. I said, I'm calling as a concerned citizen. I said, I saw the video of the teacher abusing that child, and I want to know what course of action was taken against that teacher. And the woman said, the teacher is no longer here. And she said, would you like somebody to call you? She said, that's all I can say right now. And I said, okay. And then I said, you know what? And I didn't wait. I ended up hanging up because I was like, that's all I needed to know. That's all I needed to know, is that the teacher was no longer there. And I am confident that justice will be served for that little boy because his head hit the floor. That teacher, oh my God. I'm sure some of you have seen it. I don't even want to talk about it, but I was just speaking on that to make a point. I wanted to know where it happened, and I wanted to be able to call and see what happened to that teacher. Because if it had not gone that, now, you know, I don't want to know what the administration is going to do, because actually, you know, them taking action to terminate the teacher. I guess she couldn't say anything else because it's, you know, I'm sure there's attorneys and things involved. But just knowing that something happened, and I called to find out, because I was going to, you know, write letters and things like that. And that could still be done. But I want to see what course of action is gonna happen on a larger level. But I'm sure that he was on camera. They were in the hallway. He was on camera. And I'm just like, wow, what else? How long has he been abusing these kids, and to what extent? If he was doing that and that was on camera. Very disturbing. Very disturbing. So, you know, we just, whatever you don't like, speak up. Do something about it. You know, we collectively, we have to do something. If we don't see something that we don't like, see something, say something. We got to do that. And, you know, it's so much more on a bigger level that we have to do. And I'm going to speak on Black people. As Black people, there's so much that we have to do. We got to stop complaining, and we got to start taking action. That's it. But that's a whole other topic and discussion. But I wanted to share those two things today, and hopefully you get something from that, and be the change you want to see. Have a good evening.